get ready because everything is about to change. There's a new way of living life and doing business that will blow your mind. This is a podcast all about the timing of life and the timing of success. It's what we call the Right on Time life. And you are listening to the Right on Time podcast with Amber McCue. Imagine this. You have sales coming in every single day without you having to lift a finger. Pretty great, right? Even better, imagine that it's all of the excitement of a live launch without you ever having to live launch again. I know, it sounds like a dream, but it's 100% reality. The Circuit Sales System is the automated system that combines the best of both live launching and evergreen with none of the stuff you don't like. Think high conversions and high predictability without chaos or risk. Go to circuitsalessystem.com/Amber to get more details and sign up for their free on-demand video training. circuitsalessystem.com/Amber. Here we go. I am so excited to be here with you today. If you are listening, I have a feeling there's going to be something for you in this conversation that we are about to have with Dr. Tiffany Johnson. She is a feeler and a healer with a boldness that's going to agitate you into action. You are going to find that her innate intuition is going to have you asking, is she in my head? I had goosebumps throughout this episode. You're going to know when. You are going to know when. Listen in, enjoy this ride. It's going to be good. We're going to dive right in right now with Dr. Tiffany Johnson. Dr. Tiffany Johnson, welcome to the podcast. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
I am so excited to dive in. You just said something as we were starting off, and I think this is a beautiful place to begin for this episode. You are a healer. Tell us more about your specialty, your philosophy, your modalities. Just tell us what you do because it's magic.
I would say it's magic. That's how I describe myself. And then people are like, what the hell is magic? Oh, I might need to have some other words. You know, I initially wanted to be a psychologist. And then I recognized and realized and researched that they prescribe medicine and drugs and all the things that alter other parts. I mean, this is at 16. I had no idea why. That just wasn't right. But what I loved was the brain, the mind, human behavior. Even back then, reading body language, being empathic to a place that, you know, I didn't know how to protect myself then, but like always sensing what people felt. So, which is why I want to be a psychologist. And at that time, I was playing high school basketball and my chiropractor said, Tiff, you want to work with kids, you want to work with families, you're great with people, like take this and go. I was like, wow, I never even thought about that. So I started in the sports. I'm going to be a sports chiropractor because I get to do all the things and I love sports. And we got pregnant early, 21. So while I was in chiropractic school, actually my second babe, I was getting adjusted and whatever through energy. Now I understand this. She's like, Tiff, you're pregnant. I was like, what? So I saw all these examples when I was going to school of how it could be a little bit different with still falling into the, like, I don't know, not too weird because I'm from the Midwest and everything is very just so you just follow what everyone did. And I'm like, yeah, but I like the body is my map. The body tells me everything. Even when I'm having a conversation in my mentorship business with my family, like the body is like a sunburst to me. So wherever it lights up is where I can focus and then I can get the information from wherever else it needs to get. I always say like, it's kind of like I see the body in constellations and lines and spirals and all the things. So I remember when I was in technique class back in the day, it was T5 and we were adjusting one dude, which makes no sense, right? Like, what are we talking about? We had to evaluate this person and say where we would adjust. So it was a group of 7, 8 of us. And I got to his feet and I'm like, C1, T2, sacrum. Like I, didn't touch anything. I wasn't looking for joints moving. I was just reading the body. And so the evolution to now has been, I would say, probably a little bit rocky, like what people see that to be or what they accept that to be is very different versus my words and what is to me, right? Because you do have to kind of come into a box if you have a license. And so then I recognized what the box is meant to teach me. There's always a box that's meant to teach us something. Otherwise, we wouldn't be in the box, right? So I believe that if we always feel like we're in a box, there is something we aren't learning in that. There's some resistance that is totally made up, that is up to us to figure out what's the next ledge or next edge that we need to lean into. And so that is what I recognized. I cannot fit into the medical chiropractic box. I can't, I won't. And if I have to, I actually won't. There's no way I can do that, because how I see healing is that the body is brilliant all the time. It's just giving us messages, and we don't always listen. We have wounding, we have trauma, we have fear. Now we're then medicating for symptoms, and all of a sudden we have become this shell of matter that doesn't know what the heart or soul wants anymore.
Say that again.
I don't know. What did I say?
Oh my gosh, it was gold.
We become a shell of matter where the heart and soul cannot speak. So my work is in deconstructing the shell of matter, is how I would describe it. In everything that I do, leading my team, what's standing between you doing and saying this and feeling this? It's the shell of matter. It's the resistance, the wound, the trauma, what you perceive to be true about that. And when that's heavy and when that's hard and when that's thick, we actually do not feel our body, our heart, and our soul.
I mean, whoa, goosebumps,
yeah,
tears in my eyes. Do you love the work that you do?
I love the work that I do. And I love all of the ways I get to do the work. I think this is another box moment, whether we're a coach, whether we're a mindset coach, let's just say, think of the boxes that go with being a mindset coach. No, it's just your gateway. If we can see all these pieces and cubes as just an entrance and a gateway, we learn what we need to do. Now there is another door. There's multiple doors. Now you get to see what direction you want to go. So I think it's not only in the work that we do, but it's also the work of the person that we're working with, and recognizing that that's the same for them. And we get to see, at least I do, I get to see where that gateway is and where I can help them open so that they can see it and then they can walk through it. Because then that's mindset and courage of walking through it. But truly not seeing it isn't mindset and courage. It will not work if you say, oh, we'll just go do that.
Which I think is something that is so frustrating for people. It's mindset. No, it's not flipping mindset. I truly don't know. I had a coach once ask me, you know what to do. We were talking about PR. I'm like, no, I don't. There are experts out there who really understand PR. It is not me. That is not my mindset holding me back.
No,
I legitimately do not know that field. I can make some stuff up. I can walk a path. I can read and learn some things. But there are people who've been doing this for a while and know some things. And so I feel like what you're saying here, there's mindset and there's what's the other side of that? Is that back to the heart, the soul,
Yeah. So I'd say that at the foundation of that is nervous system regulation. If we were to, we can't fake the brain in terms of how it's functioning. So it has two sides, essentially. It has a safety side and a threat side. And in the threat side, it has the fight or flight and it has the freeze. So it has two of those divisions. But what happens is the freeze shuts your brain down, it numbs it. And both of those are protective mechanisms to allow us to get through the next thing. But what's starting to happen, especially in the last 3 years, is more brains are locked here than I've ever seen before in my whole life. And so we're not ebbing and flowing, because like a healthy brain, we do have threat. We do need to fight or flight sometimes. We do need to shut down sometimes. but there's a difference between the healthy response and the unhealthy response. And so when the brain is shut down, let's just say that's called depression, addiction. Well, now we start going down a whole different path of we cannot feel our body in that place because it is so protected. And when a brain and body is protected, it cannot connect. It can't. So before the mindset, we need to understand our body and our brain. Like before I would even work with people, even in mentorship, it's recognizing where are they on the continuum. Because what work do we actually need to do? Which is the power of chiropractic, by the way. The adjustment is that it brings your body and your brain back to safety, if only for 2 minutes at a time. But what happens when we feel safe is that now we have hope, right? Now we can grow. Now we can feel our heart. Now we can see colors. Now we experience joy. Maybe for the first time in years, we actually cried. So now we've come back into safety. Now our default mechanism still might be over in threat, but there are many things that then we can do once we feel safe in that body. And I think that's the whole foundation.
There are two things here you said that have struck me. I'm going to go to the safety and the threat element first, just as an example, and see if this is what you're talking about. I was recently in a situation where I felt unsafe. And it carried over and it pulled through. And, I was experiencing thoughts around that after the fact. And this was like 3 weeks ago. And I had a moment after that unsafe experience where I thought, man, it was a night I was in bed, and I've been really good about not working late at night. I have some calls, but when I'm done, I turn off. But I was laying in bed and I thought, you know what? I could get up and work right now. And that would make all of these feelings that I'm feeling go away. I enjoy my work. I had ideas. I could go do this and I would be on fire right now. And I had this reflection. I was processing, reflecting. I had the urge, the momentum to get up, come back to the workspace. And I realized as I was reflecting, that is not what you need to do right now. You need to process and feel and heal. And is that an example of you talked about addiction and depression and retreating. Would that be an example of that? Yeah.
Of a healthy response. Most people don't like what that feels like. They don't know what that feels like, or they don't have, call it mentorship, but they don't have mentorship to understand that this is what we get to feel. We get to feel it all. And now we get to handle, like, if I can't feel that, that's when emotional intelligence comes in. Like, well, okay, what does this look like? But the brain is trying to find evidence of your thoughts the whole time. Subconscious brain just remembers yesterday or the day before. So that trauma response that you had, or the trauma created the response. Now it's creating the response, not only in your brain, but in your body. And now you're noticing that you're shutting down. So then recognizing the addictive tendencies of people and their work. But the number one person I work with is a woman who has the badass identity down. We do big things. We lead people. We have the answers. But the becoming, the feeling, the knowing is blocked. I call it soft power, right? Soft power we aren't leading with. It is masculine fighting against the whatever, to be seen, to be heard, to be understood. And yet at the same time, like, that's not where our power is. Our power is truly in the soft power, the feminine, So you didn't listen to the ego saying, that's powerful. So that's the cycle of safety in the brain. Things happen. We need a timeout. Now, next time, it probably won't be 3 weeks. So now you can recognize, like, whoa, triggered. Now I can understand what my body's saying, what my brain is saying, because now my eyes start to actually see evidence that people are bad or whatever your situation, until we recognize and go through that process of truth. Like, is this true?
Is this true? And it's interesting because as I went through that experience, like, wait, now I have to put on a protective shell. Like, I got to layer up. And I thought, that was my immediate reaction. Like, okay, I'm generally kind of on alert just because, the world, I'm exploring the world. And so I have some things I do, to make myself feel safe anyway. But I'm like, oh, that's not it. Is that enough? I don't know. Maybe it's not enough because this thing happened. I thought, wow, I don't want to live like that. I don't want to put all of this armor on forever and ever and add 10 more layers. So there's a little bit of vulnerability in that to show up how you want to show up, knowing things might happen, risks, safety, right? So it's interesting. That's a very physical, tangible example, but is this always happening inside our brain?
Yeah, because life continues to give us experiences. And so if we don't have discernment to understand, is it true or not? Or if our body is blocked, I frequently talk about medications in this way. I mean, it's just not free and pure. How do you ever know if you're anxious or not, if you're medicated? You don't ever freaking know. So now we're just half-assed, right? We're just like, meh, there's no highs, there's no lows. And for that person, that does feel safe because they aren't sure how to handle the highs and the lows. For me, I'd be like, wow, the highs and the lows are like my map. That's telling me everything about the whole world and about how I see the world.
Okay, so let's take that anxiety, because we know anxiety, depression, burnout, overwhelm. I mean, the chart just keeps going up and up and up of people that are experiencing that. I was looking at some data from 2018 and following it through to 2022. And then like, it's just keeps going up. And pre-COVID, it was going up. That didn't help, we know. So how do we navigate that? Because those feelings of anxiety, they suck.
They suck. I know.
I don't want them. I like, give me the medication, like my epidural with give me, no, you're too late. I need it too late. Why do you recommend navigating that and feeling it? And how do we navigate it and feel it and make it go away?
But I think that's what we think is supposed to happen, is that we're not supposed to feel the pain. So what if we could walk a path that discomfort is normal, that relationships aren't actually meant to be stable? Business isn't meant to, have the incremental increase of 10% every single year. And what if we started building ourselves as a machine that can handle anything? That to me is unbreakable and unshakable. I feel like I could handle anything and not ever take a medicine for it. Because what is the body trying to tell you if it's free and clear? And then what actually happens when you take the med? Instantly, bam, I do not trust my body.
For a long time, I tried to weather migraines. Chronic migraines. I know what they are tied to in my life, in my childhood, where they started. Like they started when I was in 3rd grade, and I absolutely take medication. And over the years, they've up, down, there are seasons of it. With my 2nd daughter, they came back raging, and it was a very unique pregnancy, and they came back raging in the middle of that. And I finally found my self-care game is strong. Could probably be stronger, but it's strong. Yeah. And winter came. Honestly, winter came in Chicago. It didn't matter how good my self-care game was. Oh my God, I hurt. It's taking me down. That's a whole nother thing. Histamines will trigger. I know some things that'll trigger it. The cold is one thing I couldn't get around. And there's probably something there too. But medication, I finally found something okay, this is helping. This works. What's the balance?
I know. I think the balance. I think everybody has the master voice that says this doesn't feel good anymore. I need to really identify what this looks like and what this is. My belief truly is the body doesn't need it. That doesn't mean that at times of life, it doesn't, right? Circumstances happen, life happens. But if we could see that this isn't a permanent and this isn't forever, and now this is going to build my foundation to now level up in a different way that I maybe wasn't able to do last year when I found this med that quote works, right? Because being in pain takes a whole lot of energy. It starts to make you question a lot of things. Now, if we understand but what does it actually mean? What are the physical pieces, the mental pieces, the emotional pieces, and the spiritual pieces of that message in your body? What is it really meaning? For sure, be getting adjusted by somebody. But now we know that if that's your pattern, And now you're good. Now your body thinks the thing that actually is healing it is your medicine. So that's where I feel like the incongruency happens, or the inability to know that our body actually is as powerful as it is. Because I have evidence in my life of 30 years, 40 years, 50 years that I have this chronic pain pattern, or this chronic mood disorder, or this chronic health condition. It's only like 2 to 5% of genetics are actually, quote, passed down. So really what that means, I mean, that's epigenetic, then that's gene expression. That's how are you expressing that? So if you always see that there's that limitation in you or in your body, and you have your lifestyle figured out, then it's just like trusting the next solution is going to come down the pipeline. Because lifestyle, the majority of people don't have lifestyle figured out. They don't move, they don't sleep, they aren't, quote, happy, they don't have soul, heart, voice. So there is something that's always calling them away from that, but they cannot connect to what that looks like, right? So I will always stand by your body is brilliant, not broken.
There's another one. Your body is brilliant, not broken.
Yeah. So if we're looking at everything that we are as whole, now we have to take full responsibility for ourselves, not like, this is broken. I have chronic migraines. I have anxiety. So did my mom. So did my aunt. So did my grandma. So it's just like going to be passed down. This is like inevitable. I question that deeply. I understand. I've adjusted thousands of people. I see their bodies. I feel their bodies. Like the feeling is real. I'm not diminishing how it feels to have migraines or how it feels to have anxiety. Like I feel that in people's bodies.
Yeah.
And yet, if I'm the only one that believes that it can change and heal, it won't, to the ability that if you believed it and I believe it, and I get to be the conduit or the channel for you in whatever work I'm doing, I mean, there's no coming back for that.
Okay. That thought of another question, a follow-up I have there. But first, you mentioned our nervous system is in that space of safety. It opens up feeling hope, experiencing joyful things. Why do we need hope? I know we want, but I also know they sound good, but there is reason for these things. Can you speak to some of that? Like, why do we need some hope?
One of the things two of the questions that I ask people is, if I had a magic wand, what 3 things do you want healed, changed, beyond, like, I don't want headaches anymore, right? But like, what does that mean? What does that do? And what happens is, it opens up this place in our heart that we haven't been able to admit is actually how we want to feel. Because who do we tell that to? If it's a struggle at home, relationships aren't that good. I mean, the last thing you're going to talk about is your dreams. Truly, it's the first thing that starts getting locked down. And so the dream, the vision, the seeing beyond the right now in this moment is what I would call purpose, what I would see as like, who are you underneath all of this? And what dream did God put in you that you are required to bring to life?
You just don't stop. What dream did God put in you that you are required to bring to life? That clearly got me. If you are listening and not watching right now, my face is red. You would notice that there are tears in my eyes.
Without that, which I would say is hope to some degree, right? Of course, there's skill and all that, but I just don't know why, like, or how life would be that good. Like without that, I always say, bossy. I always say, you can put your hat on my hook for hope, but I need you to have some, because it isn't me doing the healing. I am just the channel. In whatever way, if that's mentorship, if that's groups, if that's retreats, if that's getting adjusted, if that's any of the stuff that I do in my life, that is it. You can't say, hey, doc, fix me. Or like, I'm having this problem, what should I do? My first question is going to be, what is your body telling you? Like, without the anchor of heart, soul, hope, wish, dream, we're becoming matter and machines. Really, what good is that? That definitely won't anchor you into what dream God put in you.
You mentioned you had 3 questions that you asked people. I think we got one of them. What would you want healed or changed now?
Those are 3 things.
Oh, perfect. 3 right in there.
Yeah. Like, so if I had a magic wand, which I do, what 3 things do you want changed in your life? And so what that does is it just brings you out of right now, right? Like, no, we're not going to forget about the moment because I know why you're here. You already told me all the other things, but like bigger than this, what 3 things do you actually want? Because that's hope, right? The anchor of that is hope. Like I actually, and sometimes it takes people 15 minutes to like, I haven't thought about that in 20 years. When we open the field of consciousness and we take the blinders off, you see vision wise something you have never seen before. And that is this work.
When we open the field of consciousness, you see something you haven't seen before. What does it mean to open the field?
I see opening the field as kind of like when we started talking about the cubes and having multiple doors and multiple sides in multiple directions. It is the field of possibility of anything being possible at any moment. And so when we become linear, our left brain is dominant, our brain is in threat, likely. We're probably addicted to achievement and accolades. Hello, blinders. Now, a fight or flight response, let's just say we're being chased by a bear in the forest, is exactly the same. Blinders go on because you cannot have any peripheral vision when you're being chased by a bear and you might die, right? Yeah. Breathing goes up, heart rate, respiratory, all the energy goes to your heart, your lungs, and your legs because they're running, right? Everything constricts and contracts. The last thing you're thinking of is sex, emotions, if you have to pee, if you have to poop, like, so all of the parasympathetic nerve functions shut down. You don't have to do that. Well, that's dramatic example, but that is actually the majority of people right now.
We are
digestive system is off, libido is off. We got urinary, all of those problems. We have immune system problems. We are so focused on one thing that our field of possibility is blocked and locked. We're constricted, we're contracted, our heart rate is up. How would we ever see field of possibility in a threat? We can't. And so the proverbial fight or flight being chased by a bear is actually starting to be pretty sneaky now, right? I just can't do anything for myself. Or as soon as I get home and I sit down, I crash, so I just keep on going. Or I have a glass or 2 of wine every single night. Like all of these things are sneaky ways of saying your brain is locked and loaded.
This is a topic I am fascinated by right now. My oldest daughter, who recently graduated from college.
Mine is gonna, me too.
And my husband and I talk about like the changing landscape, and they're going to be right in it, right? Things are different. Things are changing. There is a new way of being emerging. And I'm so fascinated, excited, nervous, anticipate, like, where are we going to land? And what are your thoughts on like, we're in this space of something's got to change. I mean, great resignation. The news on this, I mean, every couple of months, I think 3 weeks ago, it came up now, resenteeism in the workplace. Like, we're just resentful. I'm here. I don't want to be. So what do like some things, employers, everybody's looking at, this isn't going to work. And I know like some of the healing is the way, but how do we, on a broader scale, step into this? And that's maybe philosophical. And
no, like that's all fair. I mean, I think those are the questions we're not really asking as we are grooming our children.
Yeah.
To enter something that we can't get behind, and yet it's also the only thing they really know. I think in the majority of kids right now, their brains are locked and loaded at 4. They don't know how to not be entertained. So the toddlers are entertained by a phone, by a movie, by something always. They actually don't even know what safety of the brain feels like, what creative play feels like, what anything that doesn't have a timeline or deadline or like, hey, this 30-minute show, now that they are rolling in that way. So I feel like the biggest work is truly in the brain and the body. And what our kids, like I have 18 and 22-year-old, they've been in so many shifts in their education. And now they're like, what is this? So how can we teach them confidence? How can we teach them communication? How can we teach them like things I always ask my kids, because They're not medicated, but I'm very open about, okay, so if you have a headache, what is going on? The first thing always is stress. Where are you stressed? School and friends typically, because there is a belonging thing, especially with girls. Water and food and purpose and movement, right? Like, so all of it, purpose has to happen at 4. We have to be talking about it at 4. We have to be talking about, like, are you doing things that are joyful? Now, does that mean we bail them out of everything? Absolutely not. It means like totally the opposite, really. We create and we raise adaptable and flexible kids when we are strong co-regulators that have boundaries, we have consequences, we have agreements, and that is what regulates them to now go out on their own to see where they're going to land, right? Because I can even speak of my kids, the emotional intelligence in my kids are more than most adults. How can we teach them who they are, knowing that in the sea of all of the things, people are going to struggle with that? Because yes, whatever we call the great resignation, the paradigm shift from men to women, all the girls, we're a disconnected world and we need to bring connection back.
This could go on and on. I mean,
I know.
so maybe we do another follow-up, and we like, if you are listening to this, let us know if you want to continue diving deeper into this conversation, because I got pages. But I'm wondering, before we wrap up, what have we not asked? What have we not talked about? Has anything come up for you? You're like, oh, let me get this.
I mean, there's a lot. If we were to take that statement about God gave you a dream and it is your responsibility, requirement to bring it to life, I think that is a means of grounding ourselves, a means of taking responsibility for who you really are and who you really are in your relationships, who you are in your home. Is your house in order? Who you are in business? What the hell do you even want to do? I believe it really starts to open up infinite possibilities in a way that we maybe haven't seen it before, versus like, well, how does this feel? And how does this feel? Well, if we're always only in intuition, we're not in discernment either. So that there isn't this marriage of how do we really start to navigate all the stuff in life, and how do we become better so that we can navigate it better in whatever that looks like. You know, you look at the 7 stages of your personal life and the 6 stages of business. I mean, you could bring it through your alignment. Yeah, I do all that woo-woo stuff with pendulums, but really truly bringing it through your alignment and light frequency of, is this aligned or is this not? And then figuring out what needs to be delegated, what needs to be ditched, and what needs to be done. And if you can bring it through those processes and start to be back in the driver's seat, you're going to take responsibility for freaking everything in your life. And now you might start to feel God again, or the dream again, or the knowing that you are meant to lead this dream, because whatever we see as a vision is only seen by the person who needs to see it. So how many times are we like, what was that? Either a ping during a day, a nudge, or a dream, or a sign, and then our mind just says like, nope, that's not it. Nope, like, just that was weird. No, you're the only one that sees the things that are given. So now you're meant to just hold that until it's time to act on it and trust that this is part of the dream.
Dr. Tiffany Johnson, where do people find you?
I love social and I want to break up with social. And from a social, I'm Dr. Tiff Johnson on Facebook, Instagram, a little bit. I pretty much play half-ass on social media. You can email me, Dr. Tiffany at HT Cairo. I have my website, HT Cairo, and Dr. Tiffany Johnson. Yeah, I'm pretty much, DMs and emails are open whenever. It's part of this process of how do we allow people's light to truly become and then shine.
Thank you for being here. So much love for you.
You were awesome. I hope to meet you in real life soon. Thank you.
Have a good one.